Happy Thanksgiving here from Film Base. I'm Alison.
And I'm Logan.
And we're here to talk about films that we've liked for 20 years or more.
Now explain why that is the theme for today, Alison.
You and I have now been friends for 20 or more years. We don't
20
know
or more.
exactly
We've lost track
how
of
long.
exactly when it started, but it was a long time ago.
Maybe 21. But anyway, so we're going to walk you down through our favorite films that we've liked for at least 20 years.
Okay.
Go.
You go first.
Oh, no.
Well, I have to preface this with the fact that Alison is a much more sophisticated film viewer than me. So, my movies are going to be much more, mainstream, childish sort of movies. And her movies are all going to be like the 120 Days of Sodom or the 400 Blows or something. But, that's just what it is.
Okay, so I'll get us
right,
started.
Alison?
No, it is not.
Right.
And I'm going to go with a very mainstream answer for this, and that's The Wizard of Oz. Judy Garland in this, she's so effervescent. She's effervescent in everything that she does. And I like certain Judy Garland films more that she's in. But this is probably one that I've liked since I was a small child. It's got a cast of stellar performances, great set design. It's got wonderful music and a cast of thousands.
I love that movie, and I've never ceased to be amused by it. I think it gets funnier every time I watch it because the supporting cast is they're all these New York comedians, and they're so funny and they're so kind of out of place in the Kansas setting with their New York accents. And then you have the multiple roles played by each actor, Frank Morgan playing 3 different roles. Fantastic.
Sure.
I love that movie.
I love the urban lore that surrounds these films, right? So how during the creation of these films, during the production, the stories that you hear about, is that a bird or is that something else that's happening in the backdrop?
Might be a flying monkey.
It could be. Okay, what's your next one?
All right, I'm going to go with my favorite comedy film of all time, which I haven't talked about too much on this channel or any other channel. It's The Blues Brothers, directed by John Landis, released 1980. It's always been my favorite comedy. I think it's so funny. I love Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi. It's got such great musical performances. The guest stars are incredible. James Brown, Aretha Franklin, Cab Calloway, on and on and on. Ray Charles. This endless list of incredible musical guest stars. And that's sort of a common theme of a lot of the films I'm going to talk about today is music, because I love music. But I just never cease to be amazed by that movie. And it has the ultimate car chase scene that has ever been filmed, with hundreds of cars being destroyed during it. I think it's so funny. Carrie Fisher's in it too.
Oh, great.
Well, did you not know that?
I did not know that.
No.
So my next choice is The Philadelphia Story, and that's Katharine Hepburn, Cary Grant, and Jimmy Stewart.
Jimmy Stewart, classic.
Do us a Jimmy Stewart accent.
Aww.
I love it. Okay, so this is a story about Katharine Hepburn. She's getting remarried to C.D. Dexter Damon. So anyway, her ex-husband comes back onto the scene. He's played by Cary Grant. And throughout this whole story, you kind of start to see ooh, maybe they shouldn't have ever broken up to begin with. And it's just kind of a quintessential romantic comedy of yore. Do you like it?
I actually don't know that I've seen it, actually, to be honest.
Well, we got to fix that.
Yeah, I should see it.
Right after the next World Cup match.
Well, the Criterion November sale is happening now, and they have Philadelphia Story.
It's perfect timing. I totally didn't plan this at all.
Yeah.
All right, what's your next
How
one?
many movies are we doing each?
We're doing 3 each.
3 each? Oh, man, I have to narrow it down then.
Okay.
The next one I was going to talk about is Waiting for Guffman by
nice.
By Christopher Guest. And I don't watch that film that much these days. I kind of find Christopher Guest's style, the improvisation is a little bit more transparent to me now than it used to be. I can kind of see the inner workings of what they're doing a little bit more, and it makes it less enjoyable for me now. But at the time, I loved Christopher Guest's movies, and I still love them because they're just such a different way of making movies, and they're such a different way of making comedies. And I remember just being delighted and amazed by them when I first saw them, and I loved all of them. But Waiting for Guffman is especially great. It's got a lot of good music in it, and Christopher Guest's performance is just hilarious in it, and all the actors are great. So I really like that film, and I really like all of Christopher Guest's films. So that's one that I've liked for a really long time.
That's wonderful. Okay, so to round us out, I am going to talk about a film that's just over that 20-hour or 20-year buffer, and that's The Others. And
I love The Others.
So this film, I saw one of my first years in college, and during the film, and this is not a put on at all, during a scene towards the end, a very scary scene involving a wardrobe. When the wardrobe flings open,
Mr. Tumnus is there.
Love Mr. Tumnus, but anyway, a college kid runs out of the theater through the emergency exit. So that was kind of funny, but it was a very scary scene. And if you're not familiar with this, Nicole Kidman plays the mother of 2 kids who are photosensitive, which means they really can't be exposed to any sunlight. So they keep this house that's already so dark, even extra dark. So even during the day, you can't escape the darkness. And it starts to creep in, creating a sense of claustrophobia, suspense, and of course, domestic terror.
I have made no secret of the fact that I don't think Nicole Kidman is a good actress on this channel, but I love the others. She's really good in it. Like, I guess she was directed well, unlike some other movies she's been in. And it's such a great kind of update of the classic haunted house story.
Absolutely.
Like, there's so many great kind of black and white 40s, 50s haunted house movies, but this one is a more modern take on that. And it's so creepy and chilling, and I just think it was done perfectly. It's one of my favorite horror movies as well. I love it.
It's just a heck of time. I would say that out of the 5 films that maybe have scared me in the last 20 years, it's definitely number 1.
Yeah, it's great.
The first one.
All right, so this is also one that came out just slightly over 20 years ago, and this is maybe my ultimate comfort film. Like, I put on this film.
Oh, I know what this is.
Well, I put on this film every time I just want a movie that's kind of soothing on in the background. I just want to feel good. It's Mike Leigh's Topsy Turvy. Mike Leigh's Topsy Turvy is one of my very favorite films, and it's a film that I don't hear people talk about. It's a Gilbert and Sullivan movie about how they came to write The Mikado, and I love Gilbert and Sullivan, but the costume design, the sets are so sumptuous. It's so accurate to the period. They really did their research on it. The music is so great. The performances are out of this world. It's got Timothy Spall, who's one of my favorite actors in it.
He's great in this.
It's got Jim Broadbent, who I also really, really love.
Yeah, it got some Harry Potter actors
totally.
in this.
And it's just such a relaxing and comforting movie to me. It's funny, it's kind of sad and poignant, and it's got great music in it. So all my movies are musicals, basically. But I think of all the movies I've seen, I probably watch that one actively more than any other film, because I just constantly am putting it on when I just want a movie that's going to make me feel good on in the background.
And I could have picked Anti-Mame, which is another musical, and I could have picked Thin Man, and there were a lot that didn't make the cut. No, it's not, because what if it was? His Girl Friday. Those are the ones that, not musicals, but ones that nearly made the cut. Any honorable mentions?
Yeah, definitely. I was going to mention Laura, which is one of the first kind of film noir type things I saw, and I've always loved that film. It's fantastic. Raising Arizona, which is one of my favorite Coen Brothers movies, and my father's favorite movie. He's standing right over there. That's a fantastic one. And I didn't mention it because I've talked about it so much on other forums, but my favorite movie of all time is The Shining, and it's been my favorite movie since I was 15, so more than 20 years at this point, but I just love that film. So there's some of my honorable mentions.
To wrap up,
yes,
when you think about our friendship and how it's evolved over the years, we were acquaintances, friends, best friends, now super best friends.
BFFs.
SBFFs.
SBFFs.
What movie do you think represents our best friendship?
Well, our friendship is not represented by a movie, is a trick question. It's represented by a television show, which is Parks and Recreation, because you're Leslie Knope and I'm Ron Swanson.
Oh man, why doesn't everyone always just eat Thanksgiving food?
People are idiots, Allison.
Thank you for joining us here for another episode of Film Movie Boys. Thank you so much to our camera person today, Audrey Albright.
Ciao.